The digestive system consists of the digestive tract called alimentary canal, which forms a continuous passage from the mouth to the anus. Different types of associated glands are salivary glands, gastric glands, liver, pancreas, and intestinal glands. These glands secrete digestive juices during the process of digestion. There are three pairs of salivary glands: parotid, submaxillary or submandibular, and sublingual glands. The salivary gland secretion is very rich in salivary amylase, a starch-splitting enzyme. The secretions of sublingual and submaxillary glands are, however, rich in mucin. About 99.5% of saliva is water. It contains two important enzymes, amylase and lysozyme. Amylase is starch-digesting enzyme which breaks starch into maltose and triose. Lysozyme causes lysis of several common bacteria that may be present in the mouth. Mucin in saliva helps to lubricate the food for swallowing. The saliva helps to wash out bacteria of the mouth, aids in speech, and also acts as a solvent of many substances. The glands that are present in the stomach are known as gastric glands. These glands secrete hydrochloric acid, pepsinogen, and soluble mucin. The secretions are strongly acidic. Gastric juices such as hydrochloric acid, pepsin and mucus secreted by gastric glands perform several functions. Hydrochloric acid is necessary for the conversion of pepsinogen into pepsin. It kills bacteria that are present in the food. The presence of hydrochloric acid makes the gastric chyme acidic in reaction. When the acidic gastric chyme enters the small intestine, it stimulates the liberation of some gastrointestinal hormones such as secretin and cholecystokinin or pancreazymin, etc. Pepsin breaks down protein molecules of the food peptones, proteoses and polypeptides. These partially digested proteins, when enter the small intestine, provoke the secretions of further gastrointestinal hormones. Mucus protects gastric mucosa against the probable injury by acid-pepsin mixture and other injurious agents. It also lubricates mucosa, which in turn assists the movement of food in stomach. It retains water within it so that the gastric epithelium keeps a watery environment. Liver acts as an exocrine gland for the secretion of bile and a storehouse for various substances like glucose as glycogen, lipids, vitamins and iron. Liver plays a prominent role in the metabolism of carbohydrates, proteins and fats, and regulation of blood glucose and lipids. Liver plays a protective role by detoxifying substances including drugs and alcohol. It helps in the removal of unwanted particulate matter from the blood through the mediation of macrophages. Bile salts are necessary for the digestion and absorption of fats. They activate pancreatic lipase and help in emulsification of food fats and their absorption in the intestine. The pancreas is a gland partly exocrine and partly endocrine, but the main bulk is constituted by the exocrine part. Bile is stored in the gallbladder and delivered via bile duct. Near the duodenum, bile and pancreatic ducts join to form hepatopancreatic duct, which opens into the duodenum. The opening is guarded by a sphincter known as sphincter of Oddi. Teeth are of 4 different types. They differ in their structure as well as functions. Thus, they are also called as heterodont. In an adult human being, the dental formula is 2-1-2-3. That is, in each half of the jaw, from middle to backwards, there are 2 incisors, 1 canine, 2 premolars and 3 molars. Although the shape of different teeth varies, all have a similar basic structure. In general, a tooth consists of an upper exposed part, the crown, and 1 or more roots which are embedded in sockets in the jawbone. The junction of crown and root is known as the neck. The greater part of tooth is formed by a bony-like material called dentin. In the region of the crown, the dentin is covered by a much harder white material known as enamel. There is a pulp cavity within the dentin which contains a mass of cells, blood vessels and nerves. The primary function of teeth is to grasp and hold the food in the mouth cavity. They are also modified to serve as a grinding mill for chewing the food. With the help of the teeth, tongue and jaw movements, food is chewed and mixed with saliva in the mouth. The mouth leads to a funnel-shaped pharynx which continues into a long muscular tube, esophagus. The esophagus is a 22 to 25 centimeter long, narrow, muscular tubular structure. It runs downward through the neck behind the trachea and opens in the stomach in the abdomen. The swallowed food is propelled towards the stomach through the esophagus by the movements of its muscular wall. These movements are called peristalsis. The stomach is a large, muscular and somewhat J-shaped sac. It occupies the left side of the upper part of the abdominal cavity. There are numerous glands that exist in the stomach, which are called gastric glands. The muscles on the stomach wall churn and mix the food with the gastric juice. They also help in propelling the food to the small intestine through the pyloric end. Small intestine is the longest part of the alimentary canal, about 6 meters in length. It is narrow, tubular and occupies the central and lower parts of the abdominal cavity. It is divided into 3 regions, namely duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Duodenum is the first part of the small intestine. It looks somewhat like the alphabet C. The ducts conveying pancreatic juice as well as the duct carrying bile open in the duodenum. The duodenum opens into the jejunum, which is about 2.5 meters long. The ileum is the longest part of the small intestine and it opens in the cecum, in the lower part of the abdominal cavity. Both ileum and jejunum are highly coiled structures. Inner mucosa of small intestine is raised into millions of minute finger-like projections called villi. A villus is about 0.5 to 1 millimeter long. Its free surfaces have numerous electron microscopic evaginations called microvilli. They form a brush border. Both villi and microvilli increase the surface area for digestion and absorption of food. All the three parts of the small intestine have tube-like glands in their walls. These glands secrete intestinal juice into the intestinal lumen. The muscles on the intestinal wall churn, knead and crush the food, mix it with intestinal juices and propel it towards the large intestine by contractions. The digested products are mostly absorbed by the small intestine. The ileum opens into the large intestine, which is much shorter and wider than the small intestine. It does not possess villi or brush-bordered cells. It is distinguished into three regions, namely cecum, colon and rectum. Cecum is a small pouch-like structure which ends into a tubular part called vermiform appendix. Both cecum and vermiform appendix are vestigial in function and are not involved in digestion. Colon is a long sacculated structure which is differentiated into ascending colon, extending up to the liver on the right side. Transverse colon which crosses the abdominal cavity below the pancreas. Descending colon running downward on the left side. And the pelvic colon which is S-shaped and continues into the rectum. Rectum is slightly dilated and about 13 centimeters long. It opens outside by anus and is guarded by two anal sphincter muscles. The larger intestine does not secrete enzymes and plays only a minor role in the absorption of nutrients. It stores unabsorbed food remnants temporarily and also concentrates the contents of absorbing water to form feces. The movements of colon help to void feces through anus.